In 1870, a quiet, sharp-eyed bookkeeper from Cleveland controlled just a sliver, 4%, of America's oil refining. A decade later, that tiny slice had become 90%. By 1904, he oversaw 91% of all refining, 85% of all final sales, and had invented the operating manual for every corporate empire that dominates your life in 2025. His name was John Davison Rockefeller, and the empire he built didn't vanish when Standard Oil was dismantled. It transformed, it multiplied. It seeped into every industry: energy, medicine, banking, technology, retail, until you could no longer live outside it. You pump fuel shaped by his system. You buy food, medicine, tech devices, loans, all structured by the same blueprint he created. Rockefeller didn't simply dominate oil. He invented the architecture of modern corporate power. And once you understand the framework he built, you'll recognize it everywhere. The origins of a modern empire. John D. Rockefeller was born on July 8, 1839 in rural New York. His father was a traveling trickster selling fake miracle cures. His mother was a strict Baptist who believed discipline was a pathway to virtue. From these two opposites, Rockefeller absorbed a paradoxical worldview. Relentless aggression paired with absolute moral certainty. He believed competition was chaotic, wasteful, immoral. He believed monopoly, order, was righteous. So when oil was discovered in Titusville, Pennsylvania in 1859 and thousands flooded into the region chasing luck, Rockefeller didn't join the frenzy. He went where the real money was: refining. Drillers gambled. Refiners controlled the value. At 20 years old, working as a bookkeeper, Rockefeller studied costs with almost spiritual to numbers were his scripture. By 1863, he invested $4,000 into a Cleveland refinery. Within 2 years, it was Cleveland's biggest. But Cleveland had nearly 30 competing refineries, all barely surviving. Rockefeller had no interest in joining a knife fight. He intended to end the knife fight entirely. The first pillar: vertical integration. Most refineries bought crude from drillers, bought barrels from coopers, paid railroads to ship their oil, stored it in rented facilities, and relied on intermediaries to sell it. Each step was a separate business taking a separate cut. Rockefeller saw that as weakness, so he began pulling every piece of the supply chain inside his empire. He owned the barrel factories. He owned the tank cars. He built his own warehouses. He controlled distribution. He negotiated secret deals with railroads so powerful that competitors unknowingly subsidized his shipments. While others paid 25 cents to buy a barrel, Rockefeller made one for 15 cents. While others paid railroads, Rockefeller received rebates. This wasn't just efficiency, this was dominance. He could lower prices below what competitors needed to survive, while still turning a profit. By 1870, he incorporated Standard Oil. He held only 4% of U.S. refining capacity. He wanted everything. The second pillar: horizontal integration. The Cleveland Massacre. In 1872, Rockefeller launched one of the most ruthless business campaigns in American history. He approached every refinery in Cleveland with a simple offer: sell to Standard Oil for a fair price or be destroyed. If they accepted, he paid generously, and many owners later worked for him. If they refused, Rockefeller triggered a price war that no one else could survive. He would sell kerosene below cost for months, forcing competitors into bankruptcy. Then he'd buy their ruins. In just 3 months, he acquired 25 of Cleveland's 26 refineries. His national share soared from 4% to 25%. This strategy became the mold for every monopoly that followed. Buy your rivals. If they resist, starve them. Then buy them cheaper. Rockefeller perfected it. Corporate America never forgot it. Through the 1870s, he repeated these tactics nationwide: in New York, in Pittsburgh, in Philadelphia, and Baltimore. By 1879, Standard Oil controlled 90% of U.S. refining. Not a company, a countrywide machine. The legal innovation that changed capitalism: the trust. Rockefeller understood something few of his competitors grasped. Extreme concentration of power invites extreme backlash. Public hatred grew. Journalists called him a tyrant, a robber baron, a menace. And new laws were coming, especially the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. Rockefeller needed a shield. In 1882, his lawyers invented a new entity, the Standard Oil Trust. This structure allowed him to legally control companies across multiple states, even when individual state laws forbade one corporation from owning another. Instead of one giant company, he created a central trust, 41 loyal shareholders, dozens of subsidiaries, one unified control structure. It looked decentralized, but every major decision still came from Rockefeller and his inner circle. This was the blueprint for the modern holding company: Alphabet, Meta, Berkshire Hathaway, J.P. Morgan Chase, all descendants of the model Rockefeller's lawyers sketched on paper. The breakup that made him richer. By 19, outrage reached a peak when Ida Tarbell released a scathing expose exposing Standard Oil's cutthroat tactics. 5 years later, in 1911, the Supreme Court dismantled Standard Oil into 34 independent companies. The government celebrated. The public cheered. Rockefeller smiled. He owned stock in every one of those 34 companies. Before the breakup, Standard Oil stock cost about $600 per share. After the breakup, the combined value of the new company soared to over $2,000 per share. His wealth tripled. Standard Oil of New Jersey, Exxon. Standard Oil of New York, Mobil. Standard Oil of California, Chevron. Standard Oil of Indiana, Amoco. Standard Oil of Ohio, Sohioga BP. Over the next century, these separate companies quietly recombined until the descendants of Standard Oil controlled global energy again. The breakup didn't destroy Rockefeller's monopoly. It completed it. The corporate blueprint that rules 2025. Rockefeller's methods didn't die. They metastasized. Amazon, vertical integration so complete that competitors can barely breathe. Warehouses, logistics, trucks, data centers, payments, marketplace, cloud infrastructure. Rockefeller owned tank cars. Amazon owns the internet's plumbing. Amazon also uses horizontal consolidation. Whole Foods, Twitch, Ring, MGM, over 100 acquisitions. When buying isn't allowed. They clone the product and bury the original. Rockefeller's price war reborn. Google, a modern trust. Alphabet holds Google, YouTube, DeepMind, Waymo, Verily. Legally separate. Operationally unified. Big Pharma. Rockefeller mastered regulatory capture. Pharma perfected it. User fees fund the FDA. Lobbyists write patent extensions. Regulations protect incumbents. Big banks. JP Morgan, Citi, Wells Fargo. Holding companies engineered for complexity. Exactly the structure Rockefeller pioneered in 1882. The most powerful philanthropy. In 1913, Rockefeller launched the Rockefeller Foundation with a donation equivalent to $7 billion today. People saw charity. Rockefeller saw tax optimization, influence over education, control over medical research. The foundation funded universities, reshaped medical training, and pushed a pharmaceutical-centric model of medicine that still dominates today. Every billionaire followed the template. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg. Foundations aren't just charity, they're instruments of power, Rockefeller's final invention. The world you live in today, Rockefeller's system surrounds you. You buy fuel from corporations descended from Standard Oil. You shop through supply chains that mirror his integration model. You search the internet through a monopoly larger than Standard Oil ever was. Your healthcare follows the curriculum his foundation funded. Banks use the legal structures he pioneered. You don't choose to participate, you simply live inside the system. The average American sends over $13,000 a year into companies built on Rockefeller's methods. Fuel, Amazon shopping, healthcare, tech services. Over a lifetime, that's more than $500,000 transferred upward. A river of wealth flowing the direction Rockefeller designed. Why the system persists. Rockefeller's brilliance wasn't just building a monopoly. It was building a self-reinforcing structure. Vertical integration, lower costs. Horizontal consolidation, fewer rivals. Regulatory capture, stable markets. Foundations to social legitimacy. The system is not evil. It's efficient. It works. That's why it survives. But its efficiency concentrates wealth with surgical precision. You get convenience. They get compounding power. And the structure remains invisible until you try to escape it. Your three choices. You can't dismantle the system alone, but you can choose how you live within it. Option 1, accept it. Use the convenience it offers. Pay the price in wealth concentration. Option 2, resist it. Support antitrust enforcement. Buy from local businesses. Choose alternatives. It's harder, but it slows the machine. Option 3, understand it and position yourself. If you can't outrun the system, you can invest on the side benefiting from it. Because the only people who prosper inside Rockefeller's blueprint are those who learn how it works. Rockefeller didn't just build an oil empire, he built the invisible operating system of modern capitalism. And whether you notice it or not, you're living inside it right now.